Hi guys, how y'all doing today? I just wanted to take a quick second to talk about something that's always kind of weighed on my mind. Kind of been a pet peeve of mine, but something that I think we could all be better people for doing. If we just did one thing a little bit better, and especially when we have really polarizing times, I see it as more and more of a problem. And it's something that I also encountered today. And let me be clear, this is also something I've been guilty of doing in the past. I'm not saying I'm innocent, but I try to be better at looking at things rationally and doing my research as best as possible. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about if you're going to spread information or if you're going to try to prove a point using facts or using arguments that aren't your own, right? Like sources outside of yourself. And it's really hard to have your statistics from yourself because that's typically subjective, right? And there's a time and place for subjective opinions. But my point is, if you're going to quote studies or statistics or things like that to prove a point, you need to be reading what you're posting. I mean, it sounds so like duh, right? But no, people do this all the time. And again, I've been guilty of this in the past. I really try not to do that. And I've been wrong on posting things where I didn't dig into things enough. And sometimes things are pretty well hidden. And sometimes there's just plain ignorance when people are upset and they want to share something that they think agrees with their opinion. So why am I saying this? Because again, we are in pretty polarizing times right now, and I'm seeing this more and more. And I actually had an occurrence in the last day with myself and another individual or a few individuals on Facebook, social media, which I really try not to engage in too much, but I'm also seeing too much extremism, I should say. And it's pretty left-winged extremism. I'm going to say it. It's scary. And so I'm kind of speaking about my opinions and my values to people that I value and care about, friends of mine. And so what happened, right? I'll briefly explain. I had a friend who is very afraid of COVID, and we can argue how afraid you really should be or not. That's not the point of this. But basically related to the fact that America's they really don't seem to like this country very much. Let's just put it that way. And I don't really know that they would disagree. Maybe not. But they seem to want to move, right? And so all I said was, my opinion, right? America's the greatest country in the world. I firmly believe that. And then I asked him, I'm like, where would you go? Because I'm genuinely curious. Like, where do you want to go? It's pretty. I'm interested. I'm sure there are some great places out there, but I'm curious, where does he want to go? So I asked him that, and I got lit up by these left-wing crazy people just losing it on me. So one guy took, and this gets down to the argument, right? So, and I don't want to make this video too long, but this guy just started posting link after link of different, I don't know, lists that people have made. They're not studies. They're just lists, statistics, I guess. But, not hard to tailor statistics to where you want them, and I'll prove my point. So he listed 4 specific links, and he just spread them out, and then he made the comment like, a 5-minute search can prove you wrong. And I was like, okay. And then I didn't say anything back at this point because I like to kind of take my time with things. Like, if you're going to send me 4 links, I'm going to look at all of them and see like what's going on with each one, right? Like, maybe you're right. Maybe you will prove me wrong. Who knows? But I need to look into it. I'm not just going to take the headline for word. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody should do that. Nobody should do that. So he sends me 4 links first, and then somebody else afterwards commented like, just saying, and you get these trolls, these are just mean people, and you have them on both sides. Like, you get really right-wing people. I don't see it as often. I'm just gonna be honest, I really don't. And like especially right now, but like, and then you get like these crazy left-wing people who are just want to be mean, right? And that's fine, they can do that. That's their right. So somebody just started saying crap like, I'm not gonna get into that, but whatever. And then, my friend who I was actually speaking to, fortunately, they're super cool, and they stuck up for me actually. And were like, no, don't be so quick to judge a book by its cover, which is it's cool. Like I'm not dissing my buddy here at all. But yeah, so I wanted to take the time to reply. So I went through each article, and the first article was about education and how we're doing piss poor on education. So I clicked on the article, and it was from CNBC, and it was literally like a paragraph long with a list of countries, and all it said was they took a list from I can pull it up. It doesn't matter. The point is I looked into it. It was 25-year-olds to 64-year-olds with a 2 to 4 year degree, right? What percentage of population, whatever, had the most 25 to 64-year-olds with a 2 to 4 year degree? And they listed those countries, which I find interesting. Why 25? Why include that? Like, why not, 24? I mean, do people not graduate at 24? I mean, I get 25, but it doesn't, regardless, that doesn't matter. My argument is, how does a college degree measure a country's success? To me, it doesn't, period. And there's a lot of, self-made millionaires. There's a lot of people who have a lot of success without a degree. And there's a lot of people who want to get degrees. There's nothing wrong with either. That's not my point. My point is it doesn't measure a country's success as far as education goes. But again, it was just an article that was thrown out there that didn't want to actually be read by anybody and actually be analyzed by anybody. It doesn't even take that long to look into something like this. And that's a problem. The second article was numbers on unemployment. It was just a link to numbers on unemployment or employment, whatever you want to look at, either way, and which countries were doing the best or worst. And he made the point, and he's like, well, America's not doing pretty good for employment. So you click on it, right? And he's taking unemployment numbers from May of 2020. That's where the link is taken from, unemployment numbers from. The month where half the country gets laid off. You think that's a representation of how this country normally works? Come on. You're going to use COVID unemployment numbers from May of 2020 to try, again, improve a point. Again, this all stemmed back to just me thinking America's the greatest country in the world, which I do, and I firmly believe that. But don't use these BS links to try and prove a point. Because here's the problem with this. You start gaining traction, and people start just reading your headlines and agreeing with you. And just adding fuel to the fire. Nobody's reading these. Nobody's reading what people are posting. It's ridiculous. So, number 3, all right, was standard of living, and how we were low in standard of living, like we didn't make the top 10 or something. So again, clicked on the link. Standard of living is tough, right? It can be. I don't know too much about how they measure that stuff, but when I looked into this, it was interesting. This one was actually interesting. So when I clicked on the link, it led to an article. The article didn't really say how it was measured, but it did say the organization that did the measurement, and that's where they got the information from, which was called the Social Progress Imperative. Okay, I've never heard of these guys, and I didn't take the time to dive into them, their background, yada, yada, yada. It didn't really matter, because I'm not here to argue with people who don't want to take the time to look into what they're posting. I'll have a civil debate with somebody who actually wants to look into what they believe and look into the stuff they want to share with people. I'm perfectly fine with that, but I'm not gonna spend hours researching organizations. I mean, maybe I will for fun, but to try and prove a point to somebody. But I will vet, when somebody's trying to make an argument back at me, I will I'm gonna call your bullshit. And so it was they measured all these different things, a bunch of different things, and they ranked them. and that gave like a measurement, a score, essentially. So here's a problem. Whenever you create a score, whenever you look at these things as a whole, and you measure all the countries in the world, it's subjective, period. It's 100% subjective. And I'll give you an example. This organization says that I think America was 24th on the list out of everything. But I was curious. So, because like, you know, it lists like pollution and water quality and all these other things like diversity, I think, and all these weird things. So, but one of them was healthcare. So I'm like, okay, well, we ranked like, I think our score was like 88, and I was like, well, what was Canada's, right? It was like 93. I'm like, so Canada's is higher ranking healthcare. And so here's my argument. I don't know necessarily that it is. I don't really believe it is, to be honest. And I'm not going to get into whole healthcare debate. I'll make another video on that if I have to, and I would love to talk about healthcare. But my point is, I know people who have lived there who disagree. I kind of disagree. But the people who have lived there, who've experienced, can disagree. And I'm sure there are some people who live there who do agree. But regardless, it's subjective opinion. So don't give me articles on subjective opinion to try and prove your point. Right? Again, me thinking this is the greatest country in the world is my subjective opinion. You can disagree. Fine. Don't give me a bunch of BS articles to try and prove me wrong. Tell me why you like another country better. Tell me why somewhere else is better. Like, give me actual reasons. Okay, my cat's freaking out. My cat was freaking out. But give me other reasons why other places are better or somewhere else is better. Because I'll give you reasons why I love my country and the values that I enjoy. Like, my values line up with this country. All right, I can tell anybody about that. But okay, so that's not the point. So anyways, he just sputtered off a bunch of articles. So I made a whole list of things and why each one was wrong. The fourth one he sent me was just a list off his phone. I don't know what it was, so I didn't want to respond to it. But here's my point. If you're going to prove your point, you can believe whatever you want to believe. Okay? Believe whatever you want to believe. But please, do yourself justice and the people around you and have an actual educated conversation by looking into the stuff that you're putting out there. That's all I ask. Because that is one of the biggest problems, especially social media. Because you won't find anybody in an actual conversation just pulling up random Google crap. Like, well, I think it's because of no, it doesn't work that way. It's easy to just shovel crap out there to prove a point. I'll be honest. I shovel shit out there to prove a point, but it's my point that I firmly stand behind, and I can prove why I believe it, and my values line up with that. And if you disagree, find some actual real stuff and prove me otherwise. That's all. Don't just throw crap out there. That's lazy. That's what bothers me. And I've seen it for many years. I used to be super left. I used to be super left wing. I'd say I'm more, probably middle ground now with how things have gotten. But man, whenever these crazy times happen, it's really crazy now, but this is what happens. People just like to spew stuff out there without actually having conversation. I want to have conversation. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling. I know this has been a long video, but I just wanted to kind of vent and get my thoughts out there. So please, I don't care what you agree with or believe in, or, whether you disagree or agree with somebody, yes, or, whatever. Have actual conversation. Look into what you're saying. If you want to cite, just, have sources, look into it. And you might end up finding you change your opinion on things, left or right. Doesn't matter. But do your due diligence and do yourself a favor. All right. Love you guys. Have a great day. See ya.